This build project is a planter box. This was a really popular one when we were running our direct-to-student training programs. This one, the students have a lot of confidence when they're building this. They're working with large 2x6 lumber and 4x4 posts. The plan is fairly simple, but it's a detailed plan. There should be no questions as to how this goes together. Let's go ahead and look at this set of plans. This is a 4-foot by 8-foot planter. The cap makes it 50 inches wide, just a little bit wider, but the planter itself is 4 foot by 8 foot. And I mentioned before, this is 2x6 lumber and 4x4 posts. Here's the perspective. If we go to page 2, you see this in plan, and this top image is the planter box without the cap installed. The bottom one is with the cap installed. And the cap is optional, but I think it gives a nice finished look to it to put this top layer of 2x6s on this particular planter box. Your 4x4 posts are in all 4 corners, and then they happen in the middle of each side. The 4x4 is basically there to hold the layers or rows of 2x6s together. You can extend those 2x6s down below this planter box a little bit if you want to secure it or anchor it into the ground. But I'll tell you that these are fairly heavy. Once you put them in place, they're not moving. There's also a couple of angled braces on alternate corners of this 4x8 planter box. And the reason for these, we found when we were assembling them, moving them, loading them, unloading them, and then taking them out on site, they racked too much. These help kind of stiffen or strengthen the whole thing until it's put in place. You can leave them in place. They don't need to be removed once the box is set, but they help hold everything together and keep it sturdy until it gets to where it's going. This view here, you kind of see the overlapping corners. So our 2x6s are overlapping one way depending on which row, and then alternate ways. There's no structural reason for this. It just adds some interest to the look of it, and it gives students something to have to pay attention to when they're putting these together. A lot of these plans are, this is good practice for plan reading, so the students should pay attention to the plans while they're doing it. All of the parts can be pre-cut. All of the fasteners are called out, and the fastener placement is even called out. It's a great opportunity to talk to the students about the aesthetics of fasteners on finished builds and what that should look like and how quality has to do with the placement of those fasteners. So I encourage my students to measure those out and drill them, pre-drill them, and then put their fasteners in so that when they were done, it looked really good. This page is a step-by-step instruction for students. This is a suggestion or sequence on how to put this together. We did a whole lot of these, and we found that this seemed to be the easiest and quickest way to get this done. That was to assemble your first row together, set all your posts in and attach those to that first row, then start building rows on top of that. Finally, you would add the top cap on top of all of those. That gets fastened to not only the posts, but also the side boards as well. And then here's that brace on alternate corners and how that gets toe screwed into the sort of center row section of the planter box. So I hope that makes sense. Don't forget, there's in our resources, there's another build project that is the same exact planter box, but it's in a 4-foot by 4-foot arrangement. So check out those other resources, and I'll see you in the next one.